And everyone can see my screen. Hold on, well, let me share it one more time.
Thanks. Okay, good. I think we're going to be there soon. Great. Since we're running a little bit behind, and I think we have we've got all the cables patched through here the old style way. I'll give KaNin just a real quick introduction and get started with their webinar since we're running a few minutes behind. We'll get this worked out for the next one. Again, we apologize for having to use WebEx. This is our first time using it. We normally use Zoom. Census Bureau employees are not permitted to use Zoom, just WebEx. And so we had to set this up yesterday. So it's kind of done at the last minute. We'll have this set up more robustly in the future. Housekeeping wise, I think we basically have it set up so that you can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. So let's just, I'm sure that KaNin already, reached a few points where she will provide the opportunity to do so. When you want to ask a question, I don't think that we're so crowded here we can't unmute phones and ask questions. So let's just try to do it that way. And then on the I guess that's the only other housekeeping item is that our last WebEx or Zoom that we put up on Census Differential Privacy has been posted to our website. If you didn't catch that one, you can go to our website, tnsdc.utk.edu, and watch it. It featured Dr. Nicholas Nagel from the Department of Geography talking about a seemingly kind of obscure issue, but a very important one as we roll into the 2020 census, and that is the topic of differential privacy and disclosure avoidance. It's something that data users should just kind of keep an eye on. We won't have any other webinars scheduled until probably the fall, but if opportunities come up, if needs present themselves, if you hear this and you want to go take a dive into another area, we want to talk about data.census.gov or something like that, we will. So let us know if we can help you out with any training or any such kind of even small group things. We're happy to set up something special to do so. And lastly, we'll turn it over to KaNin. KaNin is the Chief of Dissemination Outreach branch at the United States Census Bureau. You may have seen her at our conference in the fall, and she did a nice workshop for us on data.census.gov, which at that point hadn't become the Census Bureau's primary data dissemination tool, which it now has with the retirement of American Fact Finder. And KaNin works with the communication and outreach efforts that are associated with the Census API and other dissemination platforms. And so we're really lucky to have her because she knows the roadmaps and she knows the products, and she's there working on them every day. So with that, KaNin, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thanks so much, everyone. I'm so sorry about all of this, but I'll whip through some of this stuff, but I do want to start through and slow down a little bit in the demo part, but I do want to give you a couple of quick updates, especially with data.census.gov. I know that a lot of y'all, we appreciate it. I just want to give you kind of a status update about where we are. We're in the process of working on our test readiness. What that basically means is that we're doing that, test readiness for the decennial release. So our decennial release isn't until September of 2021 because that's when the products will come out. So that's part of what we're doing and part of what we're trying to shore up the site to make sure that it can handle all of those downloads. So one thing is all blocks by a state. That's a lot of blocks for Tennessee, and it's even more blocks for Texas and California and that type of thing. So we're trying to make sure that we can handle that kind of load. And with that, we also need those of geographies. If you've been using the site, you know that many of those things are missing that we're still trying to desperately get in, and some of them are needed for the release. So some of the collections that you'll see with our next code release, which is actually on Tuesday, will be all block groups in a state, voting districts by county, and also voting districts by state. Also, we're hitting our first phase of our new and far more robust download. If anyone's seen those spinnings and the downloads that don't work, you probably will see some of that because we're only in the first stage, but we're working on getting it better. And then also just an update to our landing page where we have some direct links so that you can ask us some questions directly. We've talked a long time about American Fact Finder going down, being decommissioned, and it was finally decommissioned in March 31st. And so wanted to talk a little bit about what we're seeing since then from April on. And basically, it's a steady, huge increase and now steadying off of our number of our site visits to data.census.gov, as well as page views, those basic, analytics about the site, and then also data feedback and comments from people, not just questions, but also things that they're missing and wanted to see. So that's, excellent. It's what we ask for. Also, something that's definitely missing is we're still working to migrate the data from ASF to our site. One of the things that's a big caveat, so in our mind, a lot of it's done, and we're waiting for, but it's not necessarily live. A lot of it is that we have to have data providers and those subject matter experts within the Census Bureau to be able to sign off and say that these data can now be released on our site. And they are just as busy as everybody else is in the world, and especially with 2020 coming along. So some places we're kind of at a standstill and waiting for that. But we're pushing them out as soon as we can. If you check our resource page, which I gave you that link up there, we have a news and updates area, and as those are being released, we let you know. I know it's kind of a real time letting you know. It would be great to say, on this date, we're going to have it released, but that schedule's outside of our control, so it's difficult for us to have a true timeline other than to say, the products have been given to the data providers to then go through and review and finally approve it. And that's where we're kind of getting a trickle in of it. And if, as I hear more information, if I have a better idea, I'll definitely make sure I share that with the SDCs, and that includes obviously Tim. So I wanted to tell you that. And then real quick mention about May 2020. Just our feedback that we received. I'm showing you this only because it's the same top 10 feedback we've had for several months. Issues with performance and slowness and spinning. We have worked a long time, put lots of things behind the site. But we started in September with about 56,000 visits, and we went up to 6.8 million in April. It's a huge change and a huge load. So we're trying to handle the scaling, but you're still seeing performance. Obviously, we're still working on it. The AFF spent about 2 years doing kind of the same thing, is trying to build up and handle the load, and we're kind of going through those growing pains too. Better print and download format. We know that people want to be able to print the table and be able to have a professional print that you can give to people. We are working on, we have some workarounds for that, but we are working on a more sustainable answer. Not sure if it's going to hit the mark for everything, but again, we'll make sure that those things are being sent down to y'all. We talked about the collections of geography. By far, people have asked for ZICTAs by state. One of the issues with that is that is not defined by our geography division, because ZICTAs, which are zip code tabulation areas, can actually go over state lines. Most cases they don't, but they can. And because of that, it's not a nested feature that's given by our geography. So we're trying to do some things to get approval from them. So it's a lot of things that AFF did kind of on their own, and everybody fell in love with it, and now we're trying to figure out how we can do it in a sustainable way as an enterprise effort, something with the Census Bureau that we're not doing one-offs all over the place, because that's kind of what we're trying to do in Census. We talked about the migrated data, same thing. We're working on that. Integrated address search, we have a geocoder. That's when people want to be able to say, give me the information about here, right here, and now it's integrated in ASF. We don't have an integrated system, but we have a workaround for it, but people do want the integration. Talked a little bit about that download side. It's part of what we're trying to do, this more robust download. So the best thing I can tell you is that if you're getting fails with your download, break up your calls, make it a little bit smaller, And if you have issues, please send them to our feedback@census.gov. We will help you get the data that you need. And if we need to package it up and ship it to you, we'll do that as well. We don't want you to be without what you need as our system is developing. Other issues is just difficult to navigate. We're working on that with usability sessions and that type of thing. Inconsistent filter panel, again, working on that. That's part performance and then part trying to handle the load of everything and putting it all in one panel. Search with new table issues because our single search bar and our advanced search is disconnected. They're two separate systems. So what happens is that if you're trying to change the table ID using this single search bar, you'll erase all of those things that you've selected within advanced search. So we have a workaround. And again, if I've said any of these things, they're on our resource page, or you can let us know and we can give you some more information. And then finally, a sort order. That's because of our database that we had to change to be in line with the decennial release, and it doesn't prescribe a sort order like an alphabetized. So when you do all state, it comes back maybe as Oklahoma first, and that doesn't seem right to most people. We're working on that without it taking a hit to performance, because we're all based on an API, and that's all based on how quickly you can pull something into our web application, which is data.census.gov. So just giving you a couple of ideas, things that we're working on. We're definitely working on the pseudo geographies, and we're working on the download and some other things for Decennial, but these are some other ones that we're aware of. And obviously we love your feedback to hear, and we'll, put that through the process. Another quick status update, and that goes along with what we're talking about, is that we are in the process of decommissioning Data Ferret. Data Ferret was our original custom tabulation tool using for public use microdata. What's now being replaced by the Microdata Access System, or I'll be discussing, or what we call MDAT. Just letting you know that it's going to be decommissioned June 30th. There's only a handful of people that can still access this file. One of the reasons we had to recreate it was that there was only so much. The Java plugins that we rely on, our technology relies on, it started to be decommissioned by certain browsers. So only a few people are still holding on. They have been notified that it will be going down, but hopefully they'll definitely have gone over to the MDAT system, and if they have questions, let us know. All right, so we're going to jump in, because I know at times an issue. I want to be able to roll through some of these, and then if you have questions, let us know, and then we'll get into the demo. Just to make sure that you're just kind of aware of what we're doing, in case you didn't use Data Ferret, or even use public use microdata. When we talk about like a PUMS file or public use microdata, basically what it means is that we're breaking it up from public use. So the is made accessible to the public, but because of that, it had to be edited for confidentiality. The microdata means they're individual responses. This isn't an aggregate like a table. They're individual case responses, and they need to be then tabulated or weighted by the users, and that's where our tool comes in. Obviously, you could download the PUMS file from ACS for 1 year or 5 year onto your computer and use your own statistical software to create these tabulations, but not everybody has that. And that ability, or even the memory on your computer to download everything. And so this allows you to use our tool while we're pulling from the API. All right, so just a quick thing about summary file versus microdata. Just the summary data means aggregate data. This is the tabulated data that you would see. One example for males for like an industry and occupation is computer mathematical occupation. What you can find within the microdata is for Louisiana, the same male Louisiana, but if you want to drill down and say a web developer specifically. So it's rolled up into the tabulations and said computer mathematical operation. If you really want to know that specific code for web developer, this is the site for you. And a little bit what we talked about, why use public use microdata through the access is it's just an ease of operation, to be able to use it without having to do it yourself. There's also, talked a little about that, available geographies to be aware of. It's just that you're not going to find this at the track level. You're only really going to find this at the bigger, larger areas because it's microdata meeting its individual cases. So we have to make sure that the area is big enough so somebody can't necessarily go in and pinpoint you. So looking at nation and state, and then for some places like ACS and Decennial, you have something called PUMAs. PUMAs here are they're areas of about 100,000 population. I'm going to use an example using Davidson County, which has 5. So they're just things you can go in. They're uniquely identified, and some more information with that we can get into if there's questions. All right, so the demo. So the first question I wanted to go through, kind of a little case study, is employment status by sex for the Mexican population in Tennessee, and then also add all of those 5 PUMAs in Davidson County. I'm a little nervous. I'm going to try to get onto the live site while still sharing, so someone please let me know if I'm not getting the live site.
This is a very fault-tolerant audience, so you'll be fine.
Okay, good. A perfect audience for me. Okay. So I'm going to go to data.census.gov, and then you put a / MDAT.
Let me interrupt you. It is gray.
Oh, it still is gray? Okay. Let me go back here.
We love WebEx.
Oh, I know. It's just like share everything that's on my computer. Whatever it is, just share it. Gosh, I don't know what this is now. Am I still gray?
You stopped sharing.
Okay. Where's my go? Let's see. So let me share content. And let's go to Chrome. Okay. Share.
Bingo.
Okay, perfect. I just realized I need to go back and show you something on the slide deck, but I'm not going to. I'm going to explain it to you. So first step you really need to do is to make sure that the data have not been tabulated someplace else within the Census Bureau. Very important, because you don't want to create a new estimate based on a sample file of microdata when it's been created with the full microdata available at the Census Bureau, and then with our nice replicate weight so that you get those levels of uncertainty along with it. You don't want to do that. This is really for something that's not available. So the example that we talked about, and I'm so glad I wrote it down because I can't go back to that thing, was employment by sex for the Mexican population in Tennessee, and also those 5 PUMAs. Okay, so I'm going to start out on our main page right here. I'm going to click, I'm going to assume, so it's ACS 1 year. Estimates, which is the public use microdata sample, and then I'm going to choose 2018 because it's the latest. Oops, I'm going to go to next. All right, so this is the MDAT site. It may seem a little overwhelming, but let me show you just kind of how to start going from here. Okay, so a few things to be aware of. Again, you're not looking at tabulated, aggregated data. So you're going to be working on the variable level. Not many people have done that if you don't really work at the data that much. So there's a huge learning curve for this. This is not something that everybody uses or even wants to. A lot of people are like, oh, they don't have exactly the estimate I want, but I'm okay with that. I'll go with this estimate. That's perfectly fine, but also having a specific research question and answering that is also perfectly fine. So just letting you know if this is a little too much and you're not interested in that, it's understandable. So one of the good things to be aware of is that within the surveys or programs, they have a lot of data dictionaries. Those are great resources if you really just kind of want to comb through and see. You can see it little by little. So for our example, there's 2 things you can do. You can type in the actual variable name, or you can type employment. It's something that you know is going to be available, that's there. ESR is the employment status recode. I know that because I was just subject matter. You can also type in if you knew that, so it comes up and I'll let you see it, or you can put in the variable specifically, click on enter, and then as you click this, you can click the details right here and see exactly what's in there. All right, so I've chosen ESR, which is our employment label. We want to have Hispanic, right? Because we're looking at, oh wait, Mexican population. So that is under Hispanic. I can spell it. Okay. So when it rains, it pours, right, Tim? Okay, so then click on the recode, and then you can look at what's available there. So some of these scrolls drive me crazy. So that's definitely something that I've put in as feedback that bothers me. But if you look at this, it shows, and it includes Mexican so that you can go in. So we're just picking our variables so we don't have to limit it yet. So we have, and we need sex. So we can go in, type in sex, and choose that variable. So those three have been chosen. We're going to select our geography. We said we wanted to do state, so we can go down to Tennessee. And then we can do a PUMA. So there's lots of different ways that you can find a PUMA. You may know about it. There's Tiger Web shape files that can help you look. Personally, I just scroll down until I find what I'm looking for. They stick them all together. I'm looking for Nashville, Davidson County. Perfect, right here. So 3, 4, 5, got it. Okay, now I'm going to go to my data cart. So I have, you know what? And I look and I don't have Hispanic. So let me go back. And for whatever reason, it wasn't added. So let me try it again. Hispanic recode. All right. Now looking at my cart, yes, I've got it. Okay, great. So I want both sex for male and women, or male and female. And Hispanic, we specifically only did Mexican. So all of this is a default to allow everything, but I'm going to go ahead and take it off. I'm going to click just Mexican. And then I'm going to go into, employee size. What did I?
You put the wrong variable. Yeah.
I put the wrong variable in. Okay, hold on. Sorry, it needs to be ESR. And the good news about this is that it's not just me. And for some reason, I don't know if this is a defect or whatever, but it's not. So ESR came in, and then let me make sure it's Hispanic. Oops. Hispanic recode. Okay, I'll go to my data chart. Make sure I have all of those in. Let me go back to Hispanic, just went Mexican, and then I have sex and ESR. Okay, great. So now I'm going to go into table layout. Now this is the one that messes everyone up because you have to conceptually think about a table. And the table I was going to show you, but it's too difficult now, was basically a table that shows that there's an ACS table that's similar that shows you, and just kind of the table makeup is that it's by, at the top, the columns include all the geographies, and then the sides include your employment status, so by sex. So I wanted to show that how that would be. So what you have to do, there's default. That's not really what we're looking for, so I'm just going to move this stuff around. So selected geographies, like that, under the columns. Oops. Columns. And then, let me move these out. And then the rows, we want sex and our employment variables. I'll have to move Hispanic down. And then Hispanic, it says not on table, and that's kind of confusing because you're right, it's not on table, but it's restricting your universe. I really wish they would rename that. But anyway, so that's where Hispanic is going to go. Let me move up my, gosh, I'm so glad you're such an understanding audience. So hold on a second. Over here, and then for the geographies, ESR employment needs to go to columns, or excuse me, to rows. ESR is, nope. Hispanic is down here. ESR is here. That all makes sense to everybody? Okay, so let's just look at it. So play around with it. That's the nice thing. You can figure it out. So now our geographies are Tennessee, and then all of our different pumas on the side, on the columns. And then on the side, we have the breakdown of employment variable by male and by female. Okay. And then Hispanic is limiting the universe to only show Mexican. Okay, so we have count. And here we go. So you press table, and then it shows, again, you have to widen because ACS, which I think I'm actually responsible for making all of these labels too big, and now it's the bane of my existence, shows that the civilian employed at work number here, and then there's also the second part of it, the civilian employed with job but not at work. But those are all available. You can add those together if needed, but this is kind of the breakdown for this. Does anyone have any questions before, or is it better if I just go to the second one and then we can pull some questions?
It's up to you. If anyone has a question, we've got not a huge audience, so if you do want to unmute and ask a question at this point, feel free to do so.
Okay, so if not, let me go to the second one I was going to show you. I was going to show you the Hispanic population 50 and over in Tennessee, and this really shows how to do a recode. So let me show you that real quick, and we'll talk a little bit more. So to clear it, you go actually right here to the landing page. It takes you to the, so you could either put MDAT in the back of here if you'd like to, but if you're actually on data.census.gov, if you scroll down, we have a link right here. So some of our future steps are to go in and to integrate through our code base as well as our search, this MDAT system with data.census.gov. That's kind of our next steps as we're getting the migration finished. And we're working on how that's going to necessarily look. In my mind, it would be wonderful to be able to say something like employment and be able to see your options for not just tables or maps or even web pages and those press releases and methodology reports, but then also have, we have microdata about employment that you could go in and if you don't find what you're looking for, you can tabulate your own, make a custom tabulation. I think that would be really nice. And when you clicked on it, instead of even going through all of this, it would be pre-populated with ESR. The developers love to hear all of my thoughts on this, I'm sure. But same thing. I'm going to stick with 1 year, 2018, ACS. Answer our next question. So, okay, so we talked about Hispanic population 50 and over in Tennessee. Okay, so we're going to do the same kind of thing we did before. We put in Hispanic. Still, I misspell it. Okay, Hispanic is here. Then we're going to do age. It actually is the first variable, so why even touch it? Up here, it lets you know that this is a continuous variable and that it's important to create a group recode. Perfect, we're going to do it. And then, population, and then we want to select our geographies. So let's just do state, Tennessee. And then you do the data cart. And I swear I logged out of this. I'm so sorry if you're saying that. Okay, so from here, let's start with Hispanic. So first thing you want with the Hispanic Greek code is that it also includes not Hispanic. Well, we don't want that. We want just Hispanic. So we want Hispanic, but we want all of these other components that make up Hispanic, but we just don't want the one that says no. So there we go. We've updated that one. So for age, so we want to create a custom group because we want to see an age breakdown of 0 to 49 and then 50 plus, right? So from here, we go ahead and click on this. And this is where knowing the variables is very helpful. And sometimes that data dictionary really helps. And even talking with our subject matter experts help. You're always welcome to send us emails at censi.feedback. If we can't help you, we'll definitely usher you into speaking with someone who knows the variables better and can answer those things. But we just want you to be able to have the access you need. So this is where the under 1 is the 00. You want to make sure that's included. But this is the slider here so that you can decide. So I want 1 to 49. My less than a year has already been accounted for. So I'm going to actually, where it says not elsewhere classified, I'm going to go ahead and do age 0 to 49. Save group. It gives a default of the values. The rest is the values, 50 to 99, but I'm going to go ahead and edit it and name it just a better thing, age 50 plus. And I'm going to save the group. Now I'm going to check out my table layout and make sure I did it right. As you've seen, if you do it wrong, you just go back and edit it. So some of the things, again, you think about how you want to see it. This is the default. It gives you Tennessee, and then it gives you all of the other breakdowns for everything. But that's not exactly what we want to see. We know we want to see Tennessee at the top column because we're used to that. So let's go ahead and move that. So selected geographies. Move that to... So in addition to everything else, I just got a new mouse. So it's probably not the day I should have gotten a new mouse, but I did. So anyway, there's a selected geography to give you the column. Yep, now we've got Tennessee there. And then the rows, in the rows we want our age recode. So put age here. Now Hispanic, we really don't want the breakdown of Hispanic because we really just want that included in our number. So when you take it here again, poor labeling, not on table, really means it becomes part of your universe. And you can come up here and see what is included in your universe from here. All right, so another thing, it shows these question marks right here. So you can, most of the time it defaults to count, but for something like, age, where you can have a median number, it gives you choices. So go ahead and click on count, and then view table. And there you go. So thing to know, so there's your number to go. I'm sure you'll notice that it doesn't include, these are just the tabulations. It doesn't include a margin of error or anything attached to it. It's just the number. And these are some things to be aware of. It defaults to the weighting that makes the most sense for the estimate, but obviously you could go in and change it. Don't think you'd want to change it to a housing weight, but you could if you wanted to. That's the excitement of being able to tabulate your own table. And for me as a former subject matter, cringing because people could be doing that. But still, you're able to do it and kind of check out what's available and then the universe and everything. So I know I went through that fast. I do have, and I do have all of the slides, like the screenshots that can be sent to you so that you can kind of follow along and see what happened. But if anyone has any questions, let me know.
we are going to share KaNin's content on the website after this is over as part of the wrap-up, and we'll email a link as a follow-up. So we'll definitely make sure everyone gets that. So again, floor is open. If anyone has a question, feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. I've got a couple queued up here for KaNin if no one has any questions at this point. While we're waiting for people to stir their thoughts, I'm going to ask you this first question while you're looking at that screen. When you get those results, what is the easiest way to get the information from that screen out into a spreadsheet or some other form where we can use it outside of MDAT?
So you can go ahead. Good question that I forgot to tell everyone. It's like we planned it, but you can go ahead and press the download, and then there's different options that you can do. I'm just going to download the table view, and then from here you can pull up the export from there. So that's basically more of a table that looks similar to what's available, but then you can do different downloads if you wanted to do raw data or something else like that.
Okay. And then the second question, and I don't know how long of an answer this is, but you've mentioned it a little bit in talking about the importance of using this data when you can't quite find the the question that you need to answer on data.census.gov in the pre-compiled tables because of the margins of error that have been calculated there. It sounds like maybe there's a variety of things that are done with CS data to determine that, maybe even a larger universe potentially. But can you tell us a little bit about what we should be thinking about in terms of margins of error on the results that are shown? Is there a way to calculate it, and is that an enhancement that you might be thinking about down the road?
It is something that we've been thinking about. That would be wonderful to have the calculations. We definitely need to make sure that the data providers are fine with it because they tabulate in a different area. But yeah, I feel a little weird creating without margins of error attached to it, especially when you already know the name comes include, it's public use microdata sample. It's not the full file. It's not other than even the fact that it's survey data to begin with. So that there's some measure of uncertainty. You just don't know when you're calculating it. And with the percentage of how the smaller the sample that's being used. I know that it's something we would like to do. We just don't know how exactly it would be done. But that's a great question. I'll go back and see where we would be. I know we can do it. I know we can use the files to be able to do it. It's more of is this the right direction we should be going, or is this something that should be really turned into our tabulation systems or something like that? But that's a good question. I'll follow up and see if I can provide you a little bit more information.
Again, if you've got a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask. But the reason I think that those types of things are important for data users to consider is, one of the things that I used the Microdata MDAT tool for was helping estimate the number of people that would have been eligible for a certain program. And the eligibility and the number of people who would take up that offer for that eligibility would determine what the budget was, and I wanted to see if those two things were aligned. And knowing that margin of error, if I had been able to determine it, I probably would have taken like the upper bound in terms of the response, in terms of the eligible people, or the eligible households. So for a data user, that probably is an important type of thing to think about, or an analyst when you're doing these types of analyses. The comment I have about it is just that one of the reasons that I think what MDAT does is it really takes away all the overhead that's involved in trying to work with microdata, both from the software standpoint, but also from the data standpoint, needing to download microdata sample files in order to work with them versus just being able to click a few variables and put them in place and play with them and see if you can get where you need to go. It is a really powerful tool, and I really hope people see the benefit of it.
Right. No, that's an excellent point. It really is. It's nice the way that, so I'm going to kind of clear it and go back to explore data, and you can go to the main thing, but that it allows you to, or not, it does allow you to kind of explore the data without necessarily even having the data dictionary with you. You can kind of look. I know you were talking about a few things that about like commuting time by marital status for people with kids under 6.
Yeah.
So through that, I just wanted to show you one other way that you can do. I'm going to stick with the 1 year 2018. Obviously, there's other data sets, but I think that's not really the point. It's more just kind of showing you this. So for things like commuting, I thought was really nice. So you could put, Census Bureau really doesn't call it commuting, but the whole world does. But something like that, there's also a filter by topic. So you can go through and look, and you do find commuting available. And then you can kind of look and see there's time of arrival, time of departure, and look through this and be like, I was thinking of just, travel time to work. Let's use that. But I really didn't know you had anything about, the time of arrival to work. And it does really, it lets you explore the different types of variables, especially by the topic. I think that's a great point, Tim. But if we wanted to look at this, so we're doing commuting time and then marital status. We can go back to this drop down to check out marital status, or you can type in marital, it'll show up. Here's the marital status and marital history. The MAR variable is the marital status variable. And then the final one, you wanted 4 people with kids under 6, correct?
Sure.
Yeah, like, I don't know what I told you. It was a while ago. Okay, so kids under 6. So this is when it definitely gets tricky, because you're looking at family and living arrangements. So you're looking through and seeing what you have, what's available, and so household, presence and age of related children. This is a recode, so before we click it, actually, let's just see if this is what we're looking for. So not in universe, it's a recode. So it's just a bunch of things that you can kind of look and see really quickly the values to say what I wanted. It's grandparents. I'm going to click that. We looked at this one. It was presence of related children under 6 only. That sounds pretty good. Let's go with that one. So there's definitely some ways that you can explore the different variables without having to have kind of poured over them and understand them, from the origin. So I'm going to try for Tennessee and see to create a custom group. So for travel time, we really don't need to change the span because it's a mean. Let me see what the recode for the household presence and age of related children. We do want to take out everything but the presence of children under 6, right? And then the marital status is there. We can do the table layout. And again, it gives a default and you're like, nope, I don't want that. So first, and obviously this is just how I like to set up the table to look more like what we're used to with the ACS tables. But you can do whichever way you want to. But to put them under the columns, I already did. And then moving marital status to a row. And then also for this recode, you really want it more as part of your universe. Or first off, for kids with people with kids under 6, and then from there you want the travel time, broken out by marital status. This is what you were talking about. Is that correct, Tim?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's see if we did it right. And again, you can always check your universe. It's the geographies, and then it's an average travel time. You could do a count, but does that really make any sense? Not necessarily. You want the travel time. So some of it is just kind of playing with it and seeing if it makes sense, especially that construction of the table, what you really want it to look like and see. And so I hope that this gives you a chance, if you're interested, to go in and take a look and play around and see. I'm going to hop off and show you. I know it's going to take a minute, so give me 1 second. The slide deck just one more time, just to give you my information if you have any questions.
Can I ask you one other question while you're pulling the slide up?
Sure.
Is there any reason why someone, and anyone else can jump into the question if they want at any time, but unmute yourself and feel free to do so. Is there any reason or any caution that we should take when we to compare versions of PUMs? Can we compare 2017 and 2018? Is that appropriate use of the data?
Gosh, I really have to check. I'm not sure. I would think you could, but I'm not.
I think maybe there's a reason why you wouldn't, but I don't know. I've never thought to ask that question before, so since I had you on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of at the same thing. I'm like, I don't want to tell you wrong, but I can't imagine why it would be an issue. But let me go ahead and ask and let you know.
Okay.
I don't see a reason why you couldn't. There's always comparison issues in general, that variables change all the time, and you have to be aware of those things. Pop controls change from decennial to decennial, and that causes a lot of the demographic data to change as well. But other than that, you definitely have the ability to do it. You could download it, kind of make your own file to do it. But let me, other than, I know from tables is kind of the answer I'm giving you, and I would assume it would kind of go with the same thing. It's more of a word of caution. Things are inflation adjusted. So much of our stuff is inflation adjusted. That's tabulated, and so kind of the same precautions.
And actually, you raised another point with 2020 coming. I don't know if there's new PUMA geography that will be released, but
I would assume so. Yeah.
So again, a whole nother suite of comparison issues that may become more evident when 2020 or 2021 PUMS data is out.
Right.
So as data users, we're always faced with those types of considerations, whether it's economic geography or census geography. So do you have last chance for questions, since we're bumping up against 3 o'clock? Does anyone have anything they want to jump in before KaNin wraps up? This is a quiet audience.
Well, obviously, if you think of anything, you're welcome to check out, send us a question on our feedback. We answer questions, or we provide the outreach and the communications for not just data.census.gov, but also MDAT and the API. So any questions that you have, you're welcome to send to our feedback. And we'll get you an answer, or you're always welcome to contact me directly, or obviously Tim or Aaron can funnel those questions to me. However, I like to do it. I just don't want you sitting there, either not getting the data that you need, or having questions and it's keeping you from using this tool, because it's a super powerful tool, and it's actually fun to use when you start, give yourself some time to play around with it.
Look for a reason to use it and you will find one.
Exactly.
So that's going to wrap it up for today. And again, you're free to contact KaNin. You can contact us at the State Data Center anytime you have these types of questions. That's what we're here to do, is to help with those. So whether it's MDAT, data.census.gov, or otherwise, let us know. We don't have, like I said, we don't have anything planned for the next few summer months, but we'll be in touch as we get towards the end of summer and see what the world looks like in August and September, and we'll be rolling out an additional set of webinars. We're going to be talking about things like, I'd like to get into some things like learning about crosswalks and getting ourselves ready for 2020, because that will be an important technique we'll all need to know. Comparing for statistical differences between various ACS vintages to make sure that when we're comparing results, we're noting actual change, not just change within the error of the surveys. Things like that. We've got some of those things planned for coming up in the fall. If you have any other ideas, please send them to us at the email address that Aaron just threw in the chat. And I want to thank you for joining us.